So you're putting your home on the market, and you may have already listed your home with me. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the home inspection process in the sale of your home. If you haven't listed with me, if you're thinking about putting your home on the market, I hope this will be helpful for you as well. And if there's anything I can answer for you about home inspections past this video, don't hesitate to give me a call. Now, there's two reasons why I put this video together. One is so you all can understand that there is a home inspection coming, what is it all about, and also that I am in your corner as your agent to negotiate on your behalf so that you don't get taken for thousands and thousands of dollars based on the results of the home inspection. The buyer of your home is going to send you a purchase contract that if you decide you like it, you're going to sign. It's going to contain a home inspection contingency, which basically means after the inspection is done, it's going to give that buyer the right to either terminate the contract if they don't like what they found, or negotiate with you to either fix things, repair or replace things, or to ask for a monetary concession based on what's found in the home inspection. And listen, if you just say yes to everything, it's going to cost you a lot of money. And that's where I come in to help negotiate that so you don't lose money when you don't need to. Now, it's very important for your agent to know what the home inspection is about. Not just that there's going to be one, and not just that people are going to ask for something. Again, my name is Tom Tussing. I'm with Century 21 All Points Realty here in Connecticut, but I also was a home inspector in Connecticut, and I inspected probably 8,000 to 10,000 homes during my inspection career. So I have a little bit of an understanding, maybe above what the average agent understands about home inspections, that puts me in a unique place to help save you money in this process. So let's get down to the nitty-gritty. We could spend probably an hour on this, but I want to get to the basics and the foundation. By talking about the three recommendations home inspectors are required to report on as far as conditions in a home inspection. So one is they're required to report on things that are non-functional. Again, they're not going to just report on it if it's non-functional. If it's only functional marginally or it's working but not real well, they're going to put that in the report as well. But that's what the state requires of them. If it's non-functional, they have to. Doesn't mean they're limited to it. So you're probably thinking, there's nothing in my house that's non-functional. You're probably right. And so that may not be a big deal that it absolutely doesn't work. I mean, if your heating system didn't work, you'd know you'd be cold, right? But there could be things like a leak in your roof that you're unaware of because it's not a real bad one. So it hasn't leaked down into the house, but maybe it's leaking into the attic, doing a little damage to the framing, something like that. And the home inspector might find that kind of thing that's non-functional. Your roof is non-functional at that point, needs repair. All right, so those parts are a little easier and more obvious. The next two are a little harder to understand, and this is where your agent really needs to understand it. And if you're my client, thankfully I understand it and can help you out with that. So the second thing home inspectors are required to report to their client is if something is unsafe. Now, how do you define unsafe? Well, at any given time, there are what's called safety codes in the building of the house to make it safe. But what if your house is 10 years old, 15 years old, 20 years old? Is it required to meet today's safety codes to be safe? Or has it met previous codes that makes the house not unsafe, but maybe just less safe than today's building codes? Let me give you an example. Let's take smoke detectors. I'm going to date myself a little bit. When I was growing up, they didn't have smoke detectors. My house never had a smoke detector. All right. Regardless of what time you live in, whether it's 10 years ago, 50 years ago, or today, I would consider it an unsafe practice not to have a smoke detector in your house. So even though that wasn't a code way back when, it's common sense that you should have a smoke detector in your house. Now, if you compare it to today's building codes, it requires you to requires you to have one in every bedroom and that it be hardwired to the electrical system and have a battery in it in case the electrical system goes off. All right. Do you need to have one in every bedroom in order to be considered safe and not unsafe? Here's the reality. There's a real estate law for sellers that says you're required to have a certain type of home inspection, certain type of smoke detector in every bedroom area. Not every bedroom area. So if, let's say you had a ranch. You walk down the hall, there's 3 bedrooms where all the doors are kind of close together. If you have one smoke detector in the hallway, in the bedroom area, you meet today's real estate law, and there is no code that says you have to update it to have one in every bedroom. But some home inspectors might recommend that because it is safer. But your agent should know, and you should know, that it isn't unsafe by not having one in every bedroom. According to the real estate law, you need one in every bedroom area. Now, if you had another bedroom in the basement, well, you'd need one more for that area. Okay, so there's a difference between unsafe and less safe than maybe today's building standards, which doesn't make it unsafe. You get the point. So if you look at every single building code that's designed for safety today, there was probably a time when no code existed at all on that topic, or some codes came in along the way that created a better and more safe environment in the home that would be adequate, but maybe it doesn't meet today's standards. So you need somebody, an agent that knows the difference and can help negotiate, so you don't have to spend a lot of money making a buyer happy meeting today's building codes. Your home is not required to meet today's building codes in all aspects of the design of the home. Okay, hope that's clear. Let's take the third thing that home inspectors are required to report: things that are near the end of its service life. All right. So here's what you should know about home inspectors: they are not required to predict the future. How do they tell you something is near the end of its service life if without predicting the future? And in fact, they're going to have somewhere in their report that tells their buyer that they do not guarantee anything working the day of the inspection will be working the day they move in. Why? Because they can't predict the future. So how do they determine whether something is near the end of its service life? For the most part, with some few exceptions, they base it a lot on what manufacturers represent for a lifespan. So if it's near that, they're going to call it near the end of its service life and make some recommendations about it. Now, let's deal with that a little bit, because if you're a buyer and you have your home inspector tell you your boiler, your heating system, is near the end of its service life, you're probably reading that report thinking, oh my God, I don't want to move into this house and have to buy a new heating system right away. So because it's near the end of its service life, is that really what it means? And if they come and ask you for a new boiler, will your agent know how to answer that? Here's the answer I would give, depending upon the age of it. So if it's near the end of its service life, let's take the boiler again, for example. Most manufacturers represent any HVAC system, furnace, boiler, whatever it might be, air conditioner. About 20 years is a typical lifespan according to manufacturers. So if it's near that, few years earlier, at that, or past that, the home inspector is absolutely required to identify it as near the end of its service life. That doesn't necessarily mean it should be read as it is at the end of its service life. They may call it near the end of its service life. They may call it having outlived its design life. But here's the reality with the example of a boiler. The boiler in my house is 30 plus years old, working okay. I'm not replacing it. But if I were to go by what manufacturers represent as a lifespan, I would have tossed my boiler out over 10 years ago and lost over 10 years worth of useful service from my boiler. Being 20 years old, yes, it has a greater potential for failing in the somewhat near future, but I can tell you as a past home inspector, I saw boilers working at 30 years old, 40 years old, 50 years old, and older. Okay? And it doesn't necessarily mean if you got a 7-year-old boiler that's working that it shouldn't be replaced. It's probably not very efficient, and replacing it at some point is probably a good idea. But there is that gray area between what do manufacturers represent as a lifespan and what is fairly common for something to actually last, like a boiler. So again, good information for you, more important information for the agent that's negotiating on your part, that they don't advise you just because something is older. Yeah, let if the buyer's asking you for a new boiler because it's 20 years old, you should do it. Maybe, depending upon the condition, but in many cases, no. And your agent should be working on your behalf to save you as most money as possible. Now, I'll do another video for buyers and talk to you about how your agent should be negotiating on your behalf. But in all cases, both sides should be fair. There's always going to be some give and take in the home inspection process. I am here for my clients to help you save so you don't lose thousands and thousands of dollars. And hey, if you're looking for an agent that does the same thing for you, my contact information is in this video. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Hope you're having a great day.